Bring me my food, you lazy, useless wife. John snapped at Melissa. Welcome to Treeside Tales, the home of unforgettable African folktales. Melissa had built her life on discipline and determination. By the age of 30, she was already a respected figure in her profession, a financial consultant trusted with multimillion naira projects. Known for her elegance and brilliance, she owned her own home, drove her own car, and carried herself with a dignity that commanded attention. Yet, despite all her achievements, Melissa longed for something her success couldn't give: companionship. She believed she found it in John. They first crossed paths at a leadership conference in Lagos. He wasn't the wealthiest man in the room, nor the loudest, but his calm gaze and easy laughter drew her in. While others tried to dazzle her, John simply listened. Within months, their bond became unbreakable. So when he proposed, Melissa didn't hesitate. To her, love had never been about money. She already had enough. She said yes because John gave her heart peace. After the wedding, John moved into her house. From the outside, their marriage looked picture perfect. A successful woman devoted to her husband, and a man basking in her light. But behind closed doors, shadows began to creep in. Just 3 months later, Melissa received the biggest opportunity of her career: a chance to lead her company's South Africa branch. The role promised prestige, travel, and triple her current salary. She came home glowing with excitement, but John's response was ice cold. "I don't want you working anymore," he said calmly after dinner, leaning back in his chair. "It's time you focused on this home. I want a proper housewife." Melissa froze, plate still in her hand. At first, she thought he was joking, but his eyes were steady and firm. "John, my career isn't just about the money. It's part of who I am," she said softly. He placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. "I'm your husband. You need to respect me. I have to be the man in this house." Her lips quivered. She wanted to argue, to remind him marriage wasn't a power struggle. But when she saw the insecurity burning behind his pride, her strength crumbled. "Out of love," she whispered. "If that's what you want, I'll do it." The next morning, she submitted her resignation. Her colleagues pleaded with her. "Melissa, you're on the shortlist for South Africa. You're one of our brightest stars." But she only smiled faintly. "My husband wants me at home." As she packed her office, every award and file felt like a fragment of her soul slipping away. Still, she told herself love is worth it. Just a week into her quiet new life, she noticed her missed period. The test showed 2 bold lines. She was pregnant. Sitting on the edge of her bed, the strip trembling in her hand, she whispered, "A baby. John's baby." That evening, she shared the news with him. His reaction stunned her. He smiled, but not with joy. "Good," he said flatly. "Now you'll finally stay focused on the house." His words landed like stones in her chest. The next 9 months became a nightmare. Morning sickness drained her, but she still cooked his meals, washed his clothes, and kept his life running. Her back ached, her feet swelled. Yet when she asked for water, he sneered. "Are your legs broken? Don't disturb me." At night, when she begged for a back rub, he rolled away. "You're too needy, Melissa. I need my rest for work." Instead, he started staying out late, returning with strange perfumes clinging to his shirts. By the time Melissa went into labor, she was completely alone. She clutched the hospital sheets, drenched in sweat, screaming through each contraction. John leaned against the corner wall, scrolling aimlessly through his phone, muttering under his breath about the endless wait. When the baby finally came into the world, Melissa broke down in tears, pressing kisses onto tiny fingers, whispering prayers of gratitude. She turned to John, searching for joy in his face, but found only annoyance. "Good," he said flatly. "From now on, the house and the child are your responsibility." That very day, he moved into the guest room, claiming the baby's cries were too much. Each night, Melissa nursed alone, her body still torn from birth, her breasts sore and heavy. When the baby cried endlessly, she rocked him through her own tears, while John slept soundly down the hall. He never once changed a diaper or warmed a bottle. And when she pleaded for help, he sneered. "You begged for a baby, didn't you? Deal with it. Lazy woman. You don't work. You don't bring money. You just sit here with one child and still complain." By the time the baby reached 4 months, Melissa had become everything at once: mother, father, nursemaid. Her days bled into her nights. Feeding, rocking, scrubbing, cooking, ironing John's shirts while her child clung to her back. Her body weakened, but her silence remained. Then one Friday night, after hours of soothing her crying baby, she finally laid him down to sleep. Exhaustion consumed her. Her wrapper hung loose, her hair was tangled, her eyes red and swollen. She had barely lowered herself onto the bed when John entered, the faint smell of alcohol and cologne clinging to him. "Melissa," he said without emotion. "Tomorrow morning my friends and colleagues are coming. You'll prepare breakfast and lunch. Make it plenty. Don't embarrass me." Melissa blinked, lifting her weary eyes. Her voice trembled. "Tomorrow? John, the baby hasn't been sleeping. I haven't closed my eyes in days. Can't we?" Before she could finish, John snapped. "Melissa, don't start with excuses. What else do you even do here? You don't work. You don't earn money. Cooking is your only responsibility, and now you want to complain about that too." Her throat tightened. She opened her mouth, then quickly shut it. His piercing, dismissive stare told her everything. This wasn't a request. It was an order. "And make sure the house is spotless," he added coldly. "My colleagues can't walk in and think my wife is lazy. We'll need rice, yam, egg sauce, stew drinks, everything. Serve it properly. Do you understand me?" Melissa glanced down at her baby stirring faintly in her arms. Her lips quivered, but she forced herself to nod. "Yes, John." "Good." He turned and muttered on his way out, "Don't disappoint me. You've embarrassed me enough already." The next morning, by 5 a.m., Melissa was already in the kitchen with her baby strapped to her back. The child wriggled uneasily as she chopped vegetables, her body still aching from childbirth, her eyes burning from sleepless nights. Weakness wasn't an option. John's words still echoed in her head. "Breakfast must be ready by 7 sharp. Don't embarrass me." At 7 a.m. sharp, sleek cars began rolling into the compound. By 1:30, the living room buzzed with well-dressed guests, their perfumes mingling with the aroma of food as they discussed business deals, travel, and politics. Quietly, Melissa served trays of yam, egg sauce, bread, and steaming tea. "John, you're lucky," one of the men remarked. "Most men pray for wives like this." John smirked proudly. "That's why I chose her. She's obedient. She knows her place." Melissa's chest ached, but she bowed her head and retreated to the kitchen. By noon, she had prepared jollof rice, grilled chicken, and salad. The guests praised her cooking as they sipped wine. "Exquisite," one woman said. "Melissa, you should open a catering service." Melissa forced a small smile, though inside she was bleeding. Once, she had sat in boardrooms like these, discussing figures and deals. Now she cleared their plates. As the weeks rolled on, their politeness faded. "More tea, Melissa," one wife snapped. Another shoved a plate toward her without looking. Daniela scowled at the sound of her crying baby. "Ah, can't you quiet that child? We can't even eat in peace." Before Melissa could respond, John barked. "If you can't control him, take the baby away. Do not disturb my guests." The room burst into laughter. Melissa froze in place, clutching the plates so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her silence the only barrier left to guard her dignity. One Saturday morning, long before the sun had risen, Melissa was already on her feet. Her body felt drained, but her hands moved quickly across the kitchen. The baby clung to her back, restless and crying, while she whisked eggs, fried plantains, and stirred a steaming pot of pepper sauce. By 7 o'clock, the first shiny cars pulled up to the compound. Half an hour later, the house was filled with elegant laughter and the heavy scent of foreign perfumes. Men in fine suits leaned back comfortably, exchanging words about contracts and investments, while the women boasted about jewelry and travels abroad. Melissa slipped in quietly, balancing a tray of breakfast. She placed plates before them, steaming yam, neatly garnished egg sauce, tea poured into porcelain cups. Daniela was the first to lift her fork. She chewed slowly, then clicked her tongue in disgust. "What is this?" she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Too salty, and pepper everywhere. Melissa, is this really how you cook for your husband? Even my housemaid makes better food than this." The laughter that followed was sharp, slicing into Melissa like shards of glass. She swallowed hard and whispered, "I'm sorry." But John's voice cut across hers, thunderous and cruel. "Sorry for what?" "She's right. Melissa, how can you serve this rubbish to my colleagues? Cooking is the only thing you do in this house, and even that you fail at. Lazy woman." Her chest tightened. She stared at him in disbelief, but John's face was twisted in anger, proud that his insults amused his guests. "Look at her," he said, gesturing at Melissa like she was an object on display. "She quit her job, stays at home with just one child, and still can't manage to cook a simple meal." The baby cried louder now, startled by his father's rage. Daniela waved her manicured hand dismissively. "Take that child away, Melissa. We can't enjoy our food with all this noise." Melissa's lips quivered. She tightened her wrapper around herself and held her baby close, rocking him gently. But John wasn't done. "Didn't you hear her?" he barked. "Get that child out of here before you embarrass me any further. You're always a disgrace." The room erupted in laughter again, smooth polished, as if they were watching a play staged for their amusement. Some guests shook their heads with false pity, others smirked. Not one person defended her. Melissa's throat burned, her vision blurred. She wanted to scream, to smash the plates at her feet, to remind them all of what she had sacrificed for this man who now mocked her. But she said nothing. Instead, she turned silently and carried her baby back into the kitchen. She lowered herself onto a stool, trembling as she rocked the child until his sobs faded. Her own tears fell quietly into his curls. But in that silence, something inside her shifted. Not grief. Not despair. Resolve. "This is the last time," she whispered to herself. "The last time he humiliates me in front of strangers. The last time they laugh at my pain. Next Saturday, they will not laugh. They will not forget." When she walked back into the dining room moments later, her face was serene, her smile warm, her voice steady. "My dear friends," she said gently, "forgive me for today. Tomorrow is Sunday. Please allow me to host you again properly. I'll prepare a feast worthy of your class." The mood in the room lifted instantly. Daniela smirked, raising her glass. "Now that's better." "Yes," one of the men added. "We'll be here. Monday is the big presentation anyway. If it runs late, we'll just get ready from here." John beamed, chest swelling with pride. "See, that's my wife, always obedient." Sunday arrived unlike any other. The chandelier bathed the room in golden light. Crystal glasses sparkled on the table, polished cutlery gleamed, and bowls of food filled the air with irresistible aromas. Jollof rice perfectly spiced, grilled chicken laid out in neat rows, pepper soup bubbling gently, fresh salads glistening in glass bowls. Melissa moved through the room like a queen, her baby strapped to her back, his small hand patting her shoulder as if sensing the storm beneath her calm. Her smile was soft, but her heart was steel. By 7, the cars arrived. Men stepped out in tailored suits, shoes shining. Women followed, gowns sweeping gracefully, perfumes clinging to the night air. They filled the house with laughter, voices polished and elegant. "Melissa, this looks divine," Daniela said, her eyes sweeping across the table. Melissa bowed slightly, her voice even. "Please enjoy yourselves. Tonight I wanted to make it special for you." She served every plate herself, poured the wine, watched as the table buzzed with chatter. John leaned back, smug, glowing with pride. "Didn't I tell you? My wife knows her duty. This is how a true wife should be." The laughter stung Melissa's skin, but she smiled sweetly, her eyes smoldering. The first yawn came 20 minutes later, subtle. One man rubbed his eyes. Another blinked heavily, his words dragging. Daniela laughed nervously. "Ah, Melissa, your food is too rich. It's making us sleepy." Melissa tilted her head, her smile serene. "Then sleep well," she whispered. And one by one they did. Heads drooped. Glasses slipped from hands. Daniela tried to stand but collapsed onto the table. Men slumped sideways, their polished voices dissolving into slurred mumbling. John fought to stay awake, blinking at Melissa with confusion. "What did you?" His head hit the table with a heavy thud. Silence. Melissa stood at the head of the table, her baby shifting softly against her back, staring at the bodies slumped like broken dolls. The same people who mocked her, who mocked her child, reduced to nothing. She moved with purpose, collecting their phones one by one and dropping them into a basket. They rang and buzzed with calls from bosses, reminders for Monday's presentation, but Melissa carried the basket to her wardrobe and placed it high, far from reach. Returning to the room, she began dragging their limp bodies, securing them to chairs with ropes she had prepared. Suits crumpled, gowns twisted awkwardly, but Melissa's hands never shook. Her baby cooed softly from his cot, innocent, unaware of the storm his mother was unleashing. All through Monday they remained bound unconscious. Their offices called, their clients called, but the big presentation came and went without them. By Tuesday afternoon, groggy voices filled the house as the drugs finally wore off. What happened? One man rasped, tugging at the ropes. John was the loudest. Melissa, untie me this instant. Are you insane? Do you know who I am? Do you know who these people are? Melissa walked in slowly, her bare feet soundless against the tiles. She carried the basket of buzzing phones and placed it on the table before lowering herself into a chair across from them. Her eyes scanned their faces, calm, steady, unblinking. The room was so quiet, the drip of a leaking tap echoed from the kitchen. Finally she spoke. Her voice was soft, controlled, too calm for the fear it carried. Every weekend, you walk into my home, laughing, drinking, treating me like a servant. You eat my food, dirty my plates, and sit while my husband insults me before you. And I kept silent. Her eyes shifted to Daniela, whose lips trembled, mascara streaking her cheeks. Melissa's smile was faint, razor-sharp. You said my food was too salty, too spicy. You laughed while my husband stripped me of dignity in my own house. Tell me, Daniela, was the food too salty this time? Daniela's throat bobbed, but she said nothing. Melissa leaned forward, elbows on her knees, turning her gaze on John. He tried to look defiant, but sweat shone on his forehead, betraying his fear. And you, she said, voice like a blade. I gave up everything for you. My career. My pride. I bore your child. And you repaid me with insults, with shame, with the scent of other women on your shirt. Her head tilted slightly, expression unreadable. Tell me, John, how does it feel now to sit there powerless? To be served your own medicine? He swallowed hard, lips twitching, but no words came. Melissa's eyes swept across them all again. She allowed the silence to stay, pressing down on them heavier than any chain could. Then at last her voice cut through low, sharp, and cold as steel. Listen well. The only reason you're still breathing this morning is because I chose to let you wake. But make no mistake, if you ever step into my house again to reduce me to your servant, you will close your eyes and never open them again. Her words floated in the room like smoke, heavy and unshakable. Nobody dared move. Nobody dared breathe too loudly. Melissa leaned back, calm as stone. She reached into the basket, lifted one of the buzzing phones, and tossed it onto the table. The others vibrated wildly, unanswered calls stacking one after another. Slowly, she stood, smoothing down her wrapper, her voice dropping to a chilling whisper. Go. Tell them this, Melissa belongs to no one. She turned and walked to her baby, lifting the child into her arms with a gentleness that contrasted the steel in her tone. Behind her, men and women sat frozen, staring as if meeting her for the first time. No longer the submissive wife they used to belittle, but something far more formidable. And in the silence that followed, Melissa tasted her sweetest revenge. 2 days later, the storm exploded at the firm. One by one, suspension letters hit inboxes. Their superiors were furious. An entire team had failed to appear for the most crucial presentation of the quarter. Months of preparation wasted. Clients had flown in. Investors had waited. Yet not a single member of John's group showed up. The gossip spread like fire across the office. Whispers echoed in every hallway. How could they all have slept through it? What excuse could possibly cover such a failure? Their spotless reputations unraveled overnight. The punishment was harsh. 2 months without pay, under investigation. But John's disgrace cut deeper. As management dug into his history, old stains resurfaced. Missed deadlines, rash decisions, mysterious absences. Things he had always hidden behind charm. Leaning on Melissa's quiet support to appear stronger than he really was. Now stripped bare, the cracks gaped open. By the week's end, his termination letter arrived. No office, no title, just a man laid bare. At home the tables turned. The same man who once barked at Melissa to press his shirts now stood at the ironing board, fumbling with collars. The same man who had abandoned their bedroom because the baby makes too much noise, now paced the floor at night, rocking that same baby in weary arms. He scrubbed dishes, swept floors, muttering curses under his breath as he stumbled through the chores he had once mocked. Melissa watched in silence. She did not gloat. She did not spit insults as he once had. Her stillness was sharper than ridicule, her calm heavier than anger. She simply moved forward, her eyes fixed on the future. Melissa was rising again. The week John had fallen away. She refreshed her CV, her hand steady. Though she hadn't updated it in months, her qualifications spoke for themselves. Within days, her inbox lit up with responses. Companies remembered her. Firms she had worked with before replied eagerly, "We'd love to have you." Her first interview felt like stepping back into her own skin. She entered the boardroom in a navy suit that carried authority, her head held high. Her voice flowed with confidence, strong and unbroken. The panel leaned in, impressed not just by her resume, but by the strength of a woman who had weathered storms and come out unshaken. Days later, the HR manager smiled. "Congratulations, Mrs. Melissa. We'd be honored to have you join us." Her first walk into the new office was met with warm greetings. Colleagues whispered her name with respect. Some clapped her back, delighted at her return. She was home again, but not the same. Stronger, freer, fearless. And back at her house, the contrast was stark. Melissa would come home to find John at the sink, sleeves rolled, suds clinging to his arms. She would see him pacing with the baby, exhaustion carved into his face. She would find him folding clothes, sweeping floors, cooking meals. The proud man who once sneered at her now lived the very life he had forced onto her. Their eyes met at times. His face was heavy with shame. But Melissa did not soften. She didn't need to. He was already broken, and her silence was judgment enough. One evening, after a long day at her new office, Melissa sat quietly in her bedroom with her baby curled against her chest. She kissed his forehead, breathing in his warmth. Her voice was soft, but carried the weight of her journey. "Never again," she whispered. Never again would she be anyone's shadow. Never again would she trade her voice for silence. Never again would she allow love to strip her of her worth. She had her child. She had her dignity. She had herself. And for Melissa, that was victory enough. Her revenge was complete, sweeter than insults, stronger than shame. Moral: too many women like Melissa lose themselves in the name of love, giving everything, receiving nothing. But love should never chain you. It should raise you higher. The moment love demands your silence, your dignity, your very worth, it is no longer love but captivity. A woman's heart is priceless, but it must never become a prison. Thank you for watching. Please remember